What's up, y'all? You want to add a musical to your fall theater lineup? Well, Paramount Theater's new venue in downtown Aurora has you covered with Million Dollar Quartet. At Paramount Stope Island Theater, you can go back in time to one night with Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Elvis, and Jerry Lee Lewis and rediscover hits like Walk the Line, Who Do You Love, and much more. Grab your tickets today at ParamountAurora.com or call the box office at 630-896-6666. What's up, y'all? It's one of my favorite times of the year. Yes, it's officially fall theater season, and here's the show you got to check out. Steppenwolf presents Noises Off by Michael Frayn and directed by Tony Award-winning ensemble member Anna D. Shapiro. It's a co-production with the Geffen Playhouse, and this meta play within a play will have you LOLing, LMAOing, LMFAOing, and all night long. Extended by demand through November 3rd, Noises Off is on stage now. Buy tickets starting at just $20 at steppenwolf.org. Make sure to stick around after the interview for a conversation sponsored by Revolution Brewing about some Oktoberfest tips. Today on CityCast Chicago, for the next month, Illinois is hosting a new state flag design contest. And the reason is because, y'all, the Illinois flag kind of sucks. I ain't gonna hold you, shorty. Chicago's flag, tough. Illinois', not so much. And that's not just my opinion. That's according to flag design experts like Ted Kay. He literally wrote the book, Good Flag, Bad Flag, and he told us last year what would make our state flag, pop. It's Thursday, September 19th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Ted, welcome to CityCast Chicago.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Jacoby.
I have to ask you, on the list of things Illinois has on its plate, I'm not sure where the flag falls, but Ted, why should we even care about what our state flag looks like?
It's a reasonable question. Most people will say to their politicians, why are you spending time on this? Why don't you fix the potholes? And I think a reasonable answer to that is that if the people in the state had a better banner to rally under, they could come together to meet those greater challenges.
So for many, the hope is that this is an entry point, that if you start to care a little bit more about the flag, maybe you'll take more pride. Maybe you're more likely to look up what's going on in Illinois politics. What are lawmakers doing? How can I interface with them on local issues and local concerns? But the flag is very much an entry point, you think?
When people feel better about the flag of their place, they feel better about their place. And I think Chicago is a great example of that. It may well be that people feel good about Chicago because they feel good about Chicago's flag.
The Illinois state flag consists of the state seal on a white background. It's if I'm being honest, a cartoon eagle standing on a rock with a red, white, and blue shield in its talons. It's got a red ribbon in its mouth with the phrase state sovereignty, national union. There's a sunrise over Lake Michigan and some prairie grass. And then the word Illinois is at the bottom. Ted, how would you rate the Illinois flag?
Close to the bottom.
out of all 50, you're saying close to the bottom.
Well, it groups with a lot of state flags that have similar designs. We call them SOBs. That's a seal on a bed sheet. And those designs don't fare well on the basic purpose of a flag. A flag's meant to be recognized and interpreted at a distance while it's flapping, off on the flagpole. And most state flags, a majority of state flags, are seals on bed sheets, about 30 of them. And at a distance, you can't tell them apart. In fact, that's how Illinois got the writing on its flag. Soldier in Vietnam had brought his state flag with him, and somebody said, I don't know whose flag that is. And so the solution was to write Illinois on it. Flags are visual symbols, and writing on it means your symbolism hasn't done its work.
But if you compare it to the Chicago flag, right? 4 red 6-pointed stars against a white background with 2 bars of blue above and below the stars, how would you rank the Chicago flag in terms of flag design?
among city flags, Chicago's is among the best. Our organization, NAVA, the North American Vexillological Association, ran a survey in 2004 asking people to rate the design qualities of 150 American city flags. Chicago and Washington, D.C. had a virtual tie for the best, highest rated flag, 8.3, something like that at the top. Chicago's is a world-class flag.
And I've learned over the last few years what that symbolism in the flag represents. The blue bars stand for the river and the lake. White bars represent the north, west, and south sides of the city. The stars represent the Chicago Fire, 1893 World's Fair, the Century of Progress Exposition, and Fort Dearborn. I mean, and I've seen this flag everywhere. Keychains, tattoos, you see it flying across the city.
You have an advantage in Chicago because there's a section of the municipal code that requires the flag to fly on all Chicago city facilities. And then the people fill in the gaps with their own flags. I've consulted to over 100 city efforts. I tell them, when you choose the flag, when you adopt the flag, that's not the finish line. That's the halfway point. Then you need to roll it out. You need to make sure it gets used. And I use Chicago as the example of great use.
Now, one thing we know to be true about CityCast listeners is y'all love to give back. And how do we know this? Well, because we get a lot of questions in our inbox every day about how to get involved in your community. That's why you need to know about Find Your Cause from Chicago Cares. It's an event where you can connect with local organizations about volunteer opportunities. Chicago Cares is the city's leading volunteer organization, and at Find Your Cause, you can learn about the work that grassroots orgs are doing on the south, west, and northwest sides. Whether you got special skills to donate, you're interested in serving on a board, or you're just looking for some hands-on way to get involved, you could probably find it at Find Your Cause. Plus, you might be able to grab a treat from Ida's Artisan Ice Cream or get a little history lesson from Chicago's one and only Sherman Dilla Thomas. This event is happening September 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Discover Shine Bright Community Center in Chatham. Visit chicagocares.org to register now.
At the heart of Chicago, there's Navy Pier. It's a place where the Centennial Ferris wheel gives views for days. It's where boat tours take off and where the music is always on. It's where you can spin around on rides, share around with friends, and taste every flavor Chicago has to offer. This is Navy Pier, and this is what it's made for. Plan your visit at NavyPier.org.
When you look at the Illinois flag, and I know you say it's this just seal on a bedsheet, but as you start to get into the seal, is there anything you like about it, or do you think it's just, sort of all poorly designed?
Well, the fundamental idea is that seals don't belong on flags. Seals are meant to be seen close up, 16 inches from your eye, on a piece of paper that's not moving and only on one side. Furthermore, seals are the symbol of the government, not of the entire people. I would argue that the seal belongs to the government, but the flag belongs to the people. And the symbol of the government doesn't belong on the flag. If we look at great American state flags, Colorado, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Alaska.
I do like Arizona's and Alaska. Those are two of my favorite.
Those are great flags. And there's no reason Illinois can't aspire to have a great flag as well.
Just to describe a few of those for people, Colorado has 2 blue bars, a white bar, a sort of red C, and then just like this orange O. Looks like a sun in the middle. Alaska has what looks like a constellation. Arizona has this really bright orange star that sort of seems like it's shooting out yellow and red rays on it. I know you don't live here, but when you think about the people of Illinois, what do you imagine seeing on a new Illinois flag?
Well, let me lower expectations here and say that a flag's purpose is not to have something in it for everybody. It's not to encapsulate the entire history of the place or the culture or the heritage. It's simply a logo. It's simply something that people can see at a distance and remember that it represents Illinois. Consider Canada. There's more than one kind of tree in Canada, but Canada has simply chosen a maple leaf to represent the country. And in doing so, it has associated that symbol with the nation and the nation with a symbol in people who see its flag. There's far more to Chicago than River and Lake and Fort events, but Chicago's chosen a symbol and reinforced that with people. People recognize it as Chicago, and it's a very effective graphic design, just like the maple leaf in Canada. So you pick something that might represent Illinois in somebody's mind.
A handshake between two corrupt politicians, an ear of corn. Honestly, I think they should just put something that represents Chicago in there. Maybe just go on throw the Sears Tower up there. We'll make it work.
Yeah, well, every big flag competition ends up with its joke flags that the press picks up on. Your handshakes of corrupt politicians might be the symbol. But my point is, you could pick I wouldn't do this, but an example would be the profile of Abraham Lincoln as a son of Illinois. And Illinois is quite connected to the Lincoln story. But there are many other things, whether it's physical objects or birds or plants or just shapes. You think of Alabama that just has a red X on its flag, or New Mexico, which has a Zia sun symbol on it, or Alaska that has, as you say, the constellation, the Big Dipper and the North Star. Those flags, just pick one thing.
Yeah. Long as they don't ultimately hide the Confederate flag or just place the Confederate flag right in the middle of your state flag.
That's something I would say is positive about Illinois. In the past years, the reasons for states to change their flags or consider changing their flags have been for negative reasons. The flags have had offensive symbolism on them. Georgia and Mississippi had a Confederate battle flag on their state flags. And Illinois is saying, we can do better. We can have a better symbol to represent our state.
Right. It's not that the flag is racist. It's just that
Correct.
It's boring and maybe outdated.
Correct. But when you think about the great designs, and when I mean great, I mean a design that's so simple a child can draw it from memory. It's just got 2 to 3 colors. It's got symbolism that's memorable. There's no lettering or seals on it, and it's distinctive. It's not the same as other flags. You pointed out how you can see the Chicago flag everywhere. People are flying that flag to say, I'm proud to be part of Chicago. They're not flying that flag to say, this house belongs to the Chicago city government.
I hear you. I'm following.
But I hasten to say that redesigning a flag is 10% design and 90% politics and public relations.
Yeah.
Designing the flag is the easy part. I could bring together some design people and some folks from Illinois, and in an hour, we'd have 5 great designs for an Illinois state flag. That's easy. The hard part is going through the political process and the public relations process to get the flag changed, because people will say, hey, I grew up with this flag. I'm familiar with it. I like it. I can't describe it, but I like it. They'll say, it's cost too much money to do this. Why are we wasting our money on this? Why are we focusing on this when we've got bigger problems to face? There's all kinds of opposition. Even there will be, you're canceling our culture. You're canceling our history by changing this flag.
Do these efforts that are meant to bring the state together, does it bring along the potential to really just highlight the divisions amongst us as we essentially fight for what some people want to be representative of the state, some people want to be representative of their community, and any other fight that could probably be brought to the table?
I think it's entirely possible, and that's why I say it's 10% design and 90% politics and public relations. Illinois has a great opportunity. You made a point about the Chicago flag, which supports what I observe, and that is, I can tell that a city has a symbol that people have truly embraced when it starts showing up as a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is there are very few tattoos, if any, of the Illinois state flag.
I wouldn't fight you on that bet right there. Ted, I want to thank you again for joining us here at CityCast Chicago. Ted K wrote the book on this topic, Good Flag, Bad Flag. We appreciate your time.
Happy to be here, Jacoby, and good luck to Illinois on a great new state flag.
The contest to submit new flag designs for Illinois runs through October 18th. The State Flag Commission will select 10 designs, and the public will be able to vote in a survey early next year. There are some guidelines for flag submissions, so check the link in our show notes for more details. Coming up next is a segment sponsored by Revolution Brewing with some Oktoberfest tips and a little bit of history.
Hey, I'm Will Fulton, content director at CityCast, and joining me is John Carruthers, the head of communications for Chicago's own Revolution Brewing. John, how are you? And are you excited to talk to me about beer today?
I am so excited. Shorts and hoodie weather is my favorite weather to talk about beer.
Amazing. Well, speaking of that, we have had a great summer on CityCast Chicago, working with Revolution, talking about the best summer festivals happening around town, drinking at baseball games, at barbecues. But fall is coming very quick. And for me, there were two big signs that we're switching seasons in Chicago. The first is that there's actual optimism around the Bears. They could be good. They could be good. Hope springs eternal. Caleb Williams is here to save us.
Yeah, like we haven't all seen this play before.
Exactly. But maybe more importantly, we're getting a new Oktoberfest beer from Revolution. So I'm wondering, what are you cooking up this year? What do you have in store for us?
So Revolution, right? A proudly Chicago, proudly American brewer, as I think a lot of the local producers are. And we are very much into doing things our own way and at our own standards, except when this time of year rolls around. We go back to Germany, to the unification of Bavaria, to the wedding of Princess Teresa of Saxe-Hildenbergen. I can't pronounce German, but it's approximate. We brew that classic Märzen style, the old Oktoberfest style, and we brew it with all German methods and ingredients. There is literally nothing about what we do that they don't do across the ocean in Germany.
Well, that's amazing. I guess I see a lot of brewers coming out with beers labeled Oktoberfest. Like, are there certain qualities an Oktoberfest beers has to have? I mean, you talked about zagging a little bit. Are there things that are traditional that make a beer an Oktoberfest beer?
Sure. So ours is a little more traditional, like a kind of a caramel ambery color. It's got a balanced sweetness. It is super smooth. That's the thing with these Oktoberfest beers. I think what makes it an Oktoberfest beer is that you can drink a whole liter of it by the time it gets a little warm. But you have lighter ones, you have darker ones. The point is they are all very long lagered, crystal clear, like German purity law beers. Like there's nothing extra in it. There's nothing to cheap it up. It is beer made the right way in a way that takes a little extra time and is completely worth the extra spend.
Totally. All right, so potentially stupid question. Oktoberfest obviously starts with the word October, but you always release it now, kind of at the end of summer, beginning of fall. Is that just in time for Bears fans to drown their sorrows, or is there a bigger reason here that you release it earlier?
So, Germany also has it in September. You got to get your Oktoberfest partying, done. It doesn't hurt that the NFL is coming back, but, in Germany, they face the same issues we do, that once you get into October, the weather's getting real dicey. And if you're, sharing a tent with a few thousand other people, you take certain risks that we Chicago Street Festival knowers know all too well.
Exactly. Well, speaking of another amazing fall tradition in Chicago, Revolution's Keep the Stein Nights, which are already underway. Look, I am such a big fan of swag, especially when I can drink out of the swag I get. So what's the deal with your Keep the Stein Nights? What are they all about?
So, Oktoberfest isn't just a day, it's a festival, and really, it's kind of a season, celebrating fall. So we want to get out to the bars, the restaurants, the accounts where people drink our beer. We want to go meet them. We want to give them swag. That doesn't just seem like swag, but some alternate souvenir from a parallel universe where Revolution is located in Bavaria.
I would visit that brewery in Bavaria. Yeah. Any plans to expand?
No, I think they've got it covered over in Germany, but we'll keep our ear to the ground.
Good call. John, before you leave us, and this has all been great, and by the way, we'll have a link to all of those Keep Your Stein nights in our show notes, so everyone out there can check them out. But I wanted to ask you a kind of a personal question, As I mentioned, we've been chatting with you all summer about summertime shy, drinking at Cubs and White Sox games, but I've heard the sentiment that fall, not summer, might actually be the best season in Chicago, and I'm wondering what your take on that is.
I am 100% about that. I think what handicaps fall in the conversation is like the creeping doom of winter, but we can't celebrate the seasons like that, Will. So like for me, it's the time of year when you are, it's mild enough to go out and enjoy the city streets without feeling like you're being baked into them like a shrinky-dink. And there's just as much going on, and it's a little easier, and there are maybe a few less out-of-towners around if you want to kind of get some elbow room downtown or at your neighborhood festival.
Amazing. And like you mentioned, hoodie and shorts, great combo.
Hoodie, it's the number one. I'm, 40-year-old dad, but that's my uniform.
Exactly. Real quick, John. Prediction, Bears record this year. What are you thinking?
The Bears were the first team I loved, right?
Right.
But I've also seen this song and dance over and over and over. 11-6, we're doing it.
Oh my God, okay. Well, no matter what, at least we'll have Oktoberfest beer to enjoy.
Exactly.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks so much, John. Have a great day.
All right, take care.
Go celebrate Oktoberfest in Chicago this fall with Revolution Brewing. And to snag one of the best pieces of swag you'll ever find, hit up one of their extremely fun Keep the Stein nights. You can find the full schedule at revbrew.com/news/keepthestein. And look, if you can't spell Stein, we have that link for you in our description. All right, cheers.
Some good news. The Kieran Center for the Arts out in Austin has some great events coming up this weekend, including the Chicago Gay Men's Course on Friday night and Embodying Love of Self, a garden party and brunch Saturday morning. You can check out their full events calendar in our show notes. As always, I appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
Between DC and Chicago's flag, which, as you said, were ranked sort of in a dead heat in a crowdsource, which one do you like better?
I have to admit,
He finna say DC.
no.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say it's Chicago. No, for me, no question, Chicago.